chassis dynamometer, dynamometer.
Desert Dust Bowl song, where the billman will call you almost every week. Which bills to pay today, what's left in the fridge to eat. Where stars frame the night, born out of dreams, just close enough to give hope, but too far to reach. I left there with that hope on fire, backseat for a bed in search for something brighter. Down in that Dust Bowl Valley, with that Dust Bowl Valley sun.
Suppose it might never run any better than that. I started a project a long time ago in the old house. It shouldn't be a long one at this point, so I think it's probably a good time to get started on that one again, as the Gilson Snowblower project is kind of slowly inching towards its close. And this is it. It's a 1956 vintage suitcase record player, Symphonic, by Electronic Enterprises, Montreal, Canada. I've had this working before. It was spinning around and playing music, but it was very quiet. So there's a video some time ago on the channel where we did that. And a viewer commented he used to fix record players back in the day. Talk about a dying profession. And he said all it needs is a filter capacitor and we should be good to go. So I'm hoping that when I open this back up, there'll be like arrows, and filter cap, you know. There probably won't be, but at least I can get a picture of it and maybe get in touch with that guy and see if he can help me out. So let's take a look here. I didn't even screw it back together last time. Screwdriver to lift that out without, oh, come on, causing undue harm. I have a bit of a frog in my throat tonight. Okay, should be good. So there we are. There's all the guts and glory of it. And as for this, it's literally just an empty case with a bit of a, not a speaker grill, but air kind of intake, 'cause the speaker's actually there. So just an airport, I guess, case there. You know, I'd like to have something to stand that on. Keep it classy with some 2x4 cutoffs. Turn this around. Filter capacitor. Well, I have to admit, nothing's glaringly obvious. Code manufactured VW volts DC. It does seem like a large replaceable item. Could be a capacitor. Several other items in here that I simply don't know what they are. But, well, let's turn to Google and see if it helps. Late in the evening again, as it so often is when I do this kind of thing. Got a few minutes of quiet. I thought this would be a great opportunity for Bedtime Stories for Old Men, Part 3. A bit of a guess here, because the last issue that we're going to look at is December 1959. Now this is the car repair handbook from 1959, from the same publication, Science and Mechanics. It just says that it's the annual number 3, 1959. So I'm guessing that that's possibly third quarter. So I'm going to assume that it came out before the last issue, which is gonna be a good one. This is quite a thick old book here. Cost 75 cents. On the back we have the J.C. Whitney 1959 catalog. So that's pretty cool. Let's get to it. I did look through this with Top Tech once already, so I know a little bit of what to expect. This is talking about the VX6, an incredible dream discovery that at this very moment is being used on many US Navy battery-driven vehicles. It doesn't really say what it is. Just something to add to your battery, and it's a wonder chemical. So I don't know. just like the last issue, we have quite a few ads for different career changes. This looks like cleaning furniture. So that's fun. We got the spare air can. That was a new thing then, it looks like. Talking about servicing your air cleaner. After copper wool in upper portion of oil bath type air cleaner is washed in gasoline or solvent, it is allowed to drain dry. Lower portion of cleaner is drained of old oil, wiped clean, and refilled to oil line with fresh oil. And we've got our paper type air cleaners, such as this one from 1957 DeSoto, are cleaned by tapping paper cartridge on flat surface. This can be done 2 or 3 times in life of filter before the unit must be replaced. Check up on your car before that trip. So these are all things you should be doing before you go on a trip. Check the hose in the vacuum line to vacuum booster to make sure the lines have not become plugged or collapsed from age and heat. Be sure to check the distributor shaft for worn bushings. Re-gap the spark plugs. Install new points in your distributor. Clean the sediment bowl on the bottom of your fuel pump. A quick way and exact way to adjust your headlights in an emergency. Just pull off the trim and all that and just get those things adjusted. Headlight rim of the Peugeot 403 is removed simply by pulling outward on 2 small finger holes at the bottom of the rim. This one being a Rambler American. Have to undo a screw. Testing springs and shock absorbers and replacing worn shock absorbers. Here's red green, checking out the shocks on a Plymouth Plaza, looks like. Catching a neglected gasoline thief. Talking about the heat riser valve in your intake manifold. How to arrest the battery killers. We have a variety of automotive criminals here today. Check your car's battery with a hydrometer and watch the liquid level in the cells each week. About how to repair a regulator. Check the generator and the belt, of course. Does your car need a ring job? How to tell when your rings need replacing and how and when to tackle the job yourself. How to keep your car from rusting. Clean out drain holes in bottom edge of car door. Pour melted body wax on fabric fender welt to prevent rust formation along the seam where the fender is bolted to the body. How to repair tubeless tires. A flat tire is a flat tire, whether it is a tubeless or a tube tire. Very true. That valve job's not so tough. Keeping the family bus from blowing its lid. Start the annual checkup of your car's cooling system at the top with the radiator pressure cap. It may help prevent costly repair bills. This was interesting. More power for your 100-inch Rambler. If you own a Rambler, your pride in it will be further increased if you can walk away from a traffic light with increased zip. That zip is easily achieved when you install a higher compression ratio head with dual carburetors. Time required, 3 hours. This is an Edmunds head and kit. The head with the integral dual intake manifold costs about $75, complete with throttle linkage. The gasket about $4, the 2 chromed Hellings air cleaner pots with wire mesh another $4, and the extra carburetor around $22. The performance jump for this $105 outlay should compare favorably with the increase we obtained on our venerable 53 model. Equipped with stick shift and overdrive, our car when stock clocked a true 60 miles per hour from a standing start in just a hair under 21 seconds. After this modification, the acceleration increased so that the 60 mile per hour mark came in just 15.1 seconds. I mean, 21 seconds is harsh, but to jump up to 15.1, that is very impressive. There we have the finished setup. high compression head and dual carburetors. The stock 53 Rambler with overdrive had a top speed of 86 miles per hour flat out with a long run. Now with the hotter head and dual carbs, it has clocked a shade over 98 miles per hour. No increase in fuel requirements or consumption. What to do in your car stalls? Just fuel. First, check to see if you have gas in the tank. Make sure the needle valve isn't stuck. Make sure the fuel pump is working. Use a key as an extension for the ignition wire during spark test. You'll find out one way or another if it has spark like that, I guess. How to take care of your clutch. Table A, clutch troubleshooting chart. Experimenting with a nickel-cadmium storage battery. Quick repair of your car radio's vibrator. So great a troublemaker is the vibrator that recently 2 leading car radio manufacturers introduced sets which eliminate the need for a vibrator. You can renew a vibrator's contacts and save that hefty replacement cost. What does it do? It converts the low DC voltage supplied by the car storage battery into square wave DC pulses, which can be fed into the primary of a step-up power transformer, rectified in the secondary circuit, and used as battery positive in the car's radio. Servicing car electrical controls. So the old type AG fuses, new standard fuses. One thing that hasn't changed is uncomfortably laying underneath the dash of your car. That's a 56 Chevy. Your tires can tell you how to enjoy greater driving safety and more economical car operation. Very true. Why, oh why does auto insurance cost so much? Yeah. Parking or turn lights built into bumpers, particularly when projecting forward of main bumper bar, leave them exposed to damage. Glass wrap farther round to the rear and without a supporting post means costly replacements if glass breaks. Yeah, but look how cool those are. Multiple forming of highly stylized front bumper requires soft, thin material that often gives way at the slightest bump to increase repair costs. In former years, bumpers were thick, hardened spring steel guards. Location of 8 lights mounted even with front bumper causes multiple damages in case of even low-speed accidents. Design and construction of Studebaker's new Lark makes repair simple in case of accident, so insurance rates are less than those for similar cars. Bolt-on fender panels, simple rear light, functional bumper, limited glass area but with optimum visibility. Old shoebox Ford. And that, I think, would be a Chevy. Like new carburetor for 80 cents. When it pays to convert to propane. 56 Ford on propane. Speed on the super roads. Do you have 65 mile per hour judgment? Lubrication, the mileage maker. Impressive indeed are the assortment of lubricants and equipment required for the proper servicing of a modern car. Impressive indeed. Quick customizing by dechroming. And they filled in the upper part of the grille. I think I liked it better before. Another article on automobile insurance. Oh boy. Looks like an Austin Healey and a real nice old bus. Will it pay you to use multigrade oils? Snakebite remedies, snorted the oil company executive when we asked him what he thought of various oil additives being advertised a few years ago. Sludge dispersant in multigrade oil kept oil screen and side cover clean. Even heavy-duty single-grade oil allowed sludge to build up on screen and side cover. 30,000 miles of taxi service when dismantled for observation. Head-on smash-ups prove unitized cars no safer. 56 Ford mainline sedan at left, 56 Rambler sedan at right. In this case, the Nash actually suffered less structural damage. Auto condenser for emergency use. That's pretty clever. Just a condenser fit with some clips, so you can clip it in place and carry on. Ignition tester made from a pencil. Sharpen at both ends, drill a 332-inch diameter hole through the center of the pencil, and cut away slightly on each side of the drilled hole. The spark will jump across the hole in the pencil if ignition is good. That's cool. 3 new old cars. 1903 Surrey and a couple of 1901 Curve Dash, which with these gentlemen, okay. I was gonna say that one looks really tiny. It's a 2/3 size replica, and this one's the full size, which still looks really tiny. Deluxe 1903 Surrey had 8 horsepower. Wait a minute, this is new. Manufactured by the E.W. Bliss Company, the Surrey has an all-steel body, is sold in kit form as well as in ready-to-run condition and in deluxe and standard models. In Florida, John McGrath and Al Starts are currently building and selling replicas of the original 1901 Curve Dash. 4 horsepower Clinton in the full size. Ford's 1960 disc brakes. Now, these are kind of unusual. They operate more like, from what I can see, more like a clutch. Milan brake. Yeah, spinning disc and lining, backing plate, pressure plate. So it operates more like a clutch. Building a micro midget race car. Looks pretty fun. Looks fairly complex. Be a lot of work. Performance testing the Vauxhall Victor. Hood ribs as in Pontiac, bumper contours as in Buick. It weighs, so comparing to the 58 Impala, the Vauxhall weighs 2,200 pounds, the Impala 3,850. Length, 167.5 inches to 207 inches. Horsepower at rear axle, looks like about 34. 0 to 60 in 29.8 seconds. Typical price of $2,032.87, which includes taxes, heater, and turn signals. How the remarkable Dyna Panhard behaves. Front wheel drive, 2-cylinder horizontally opposed air-cooled 4-stroke. Aluminum alloy cylinders with removable cast iron sleeves. 0 to 60 in 33.6, which is considerably quicker than the 45 seconds required by the Volkswagen Beetle. Compared with the Volkswagen, the Dyna turns out to be bigger, heavier, and lower, at least on the outside. Inside, little difference except for a wider front seat. The Dyna's 2-cylinder power plant does, to be honest, snore up quite a storm, but then neither the Volkswagen nor many of its fellow imports are noted for operating in silence. Light and a mirror inside the right-hand visor are designed for your best gal's primping use. What our tests reveal about Volkswagen's unique station wagon bus. Just the thing for large families or Cub Scout packs. While bystanders will have no objection, getting in and out of the driver's seat can be awkward for ladies, but getting into the front passenger side is not too difficult because of the fold-down step provided. Well, of course I wasn't paying attention and my phone died, but I believe at the time we were reading about Volkswagen's new unique station wagon bus. Interestingly, they're showing a camper unit which slides right into the bus, moves in and out on rails with
legs that extend down, so then I guess this stays outside of the bus. Stretcher type beds to go inside the bus. A gas stove, an ice box, storage drawers, and stove fuel and water tanks. $500. How the Ford console performs. All of you have met puppies. They charge at you with an eager bounce and their best imitation of a ferocious roar. They don't really mean it, of course, because baby teeth and not yet developed muscles scarcely fit them for a fight. Ford's upper middle class English console impresses you a bit that way as compared with its bigger, heftier, and stronger US cousins. As one of the middlemen in Ford's English shock troops, Popular, Anglia, Prefect, Consul, Zephyr, and Zodiac, which have been called in to do battle with the foreign invaders here on an equal footing. When we compared the console to a bouncy puppy, we meant it. Here is a car for transportation, if not for sex appeal. Little 4-cylinder engine, 104 cubic inches. Tidy little dash. Specifications for some imported economy cars. We have the American Motors Metropolitan, 2-door English. Ford Motor Company, we have the Ford Consul, the Prefect, and the Taunus from Germany. GM, the Vauxhall Victor from England, and the Opel Olympia Record from Germany. Chrysler Simca Aronde from France. The Beetle, of course. The Dauphine, Fiat 1100, the Hillman Minx, Morris Minor. They just call it Volvo 2-door and Saab 2-door, so I'm assuming probably PV 544 and the 96. Is it the 96 that little like Steven has? The 403 Peugeot, Austin A35, and the DKW from Germany. Interestingly, by some margin, the Dauphine is the lightest at under 1,400 pounds. It looks like the heaviest is probably the Ford Consul at just under 2,500 pounds. Porsche's unitized plastic bodies. I guess they're not talking about fiberglass, because that was already not new in 1959. Our test car had power brakes with sensitivity selector, ride control adjustable by the driver, recessed interior door handles, one-shot lubrication, and much more. A 59 model? No, we were testing the classic 1934 Packard V12. The 34 twin-six Packard towers over a 57 T-Bird, which many believe will become a classic following discontinuance of manufacture of the pristine two-seater by Ford. That did come to pass. Talk about presents. More innovations include high squish combustion chambers with pent roof pistons and the block machined on the bias. I don't really know what they mean by on the bias, but overflow reservoir for the radiator, automatic heat control shutters on the radiator, hydraulic silencers for the tappets, and a crankcase oil capacity indicator. Oh, that explains the block machined on the bias. So basically the plane of the head being at an angle to the relative to the cylinder bore. A wedge, basically. V angle of the Packard is 67 degrees and not 60 degrees, so that the power impulses are not exactly faced together. This type of design reduces the tendency for torsional vibrations of the crankshaft and driveshaft to be excited. Proud owner of the S&M test car, Clint Ewell is... S&M came to mean something else later. Clint Ewell is weather forecaster for NBC and its Chicago TV outlet WNBQ, an excellent talent for people who drive touring cars in winter, according to our test drivers. They mentioned it was rather cold. Test temperatures at the time were about 42 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 32 to 50 degrees, so that's not warm. Brake bands are 15 inches in diameter, 2¼ inches wide. could stop 3 tons of car. Before the horsepower race began. The Scripps booth from 1912. The tandem seat cycle car introduced by Bedelia featured V-twin air-cooled motorcycle engines and cycle wheels. While forward drive systems differed, final drive was always by V-belt to the rear wheels. Airplane construction of the era was used, fabric over a tubular framework. And the driver sits behind the passenger. Day Griswold Electric, 1895. Probably the world's first fluid drive car, this extraordinary electric made use of the same principle applied by the Romanian inventor Constantinescu in his machine gun tripping gear, which permitted the gun to fire between rotations of the propeller blade. The motor forced oil through 2 simple turbines geared to the rear wheels. No production model came into being. King, 1896. You never had to change the oil in the 20 horsepower 4-cylinder water-cooled hydrocarbon engine of this powered buggy. There wasn't any. The King did away with the crankcase entirely and tried to compensate by running in the bearings in advance in oil dag, a colloidal dispersion of graphite and oil, one of the original high-grade lubricants. This provided a self-lubricated system, or so the inventor claimed. Like many pioneer cars, this one failed before long and joined the ranks of the forgotten. The Carter twin. In the Carter, you had an engine to spare if one failed. Here were 2 35 horsepower 4-cylinder mills side by side, each with its own accessories, and you could use either one or both for a burst of real speed. The price was $5,000 in 1908. 2 crank handles, twice the fun. 1959 specs, make and model. And the Buick LeSabre, Invicta Electra 225, the Caddy Series 62, full-size Chevys, Chrysler, Corvette, DeSoto, Dodge, Edsel, Ford, Imperial, Lincoln and Continental Mark IV, Mercury, Oldsmobile, Plymouth, Pontiac, Rambler, Studebaker, Thunderbird, goes all the way into rear axle ratios, optional engines, compression ratio. I wonder if this isn't the highest on the list here, the Chrysler 300E at 380 horsepower from the 413. In fact, I believe it lays claim to the top 2. The next being the New Yorker at 350, alongside the Imperial at 350. Testing Buick's LeSabre cross country. There's one for Scott. Temperature 111 degrees Fahrenheit in the Mojave Desert. And the window down. No AC or what? Small button by left foot is station changer for radio. Large dial to left of steering column is for regulation of fresh air. We drove a LeSabre 4-door hardtop sedan, the smallest Buick. Calling it small, however, is shrinking a point. 300 horsepower, 405 pound-feet, from 364 cubic inch. The standard engine, 250 horsepower and 384 pound-feet. In addition to the automatic transmission, this family hot rod had a heater, a very good fresh air system, the best Buick's ever had, a powered antenna, and a radio with a station-changing push button on the floor. Standard 4-wheel coil springs without the optional rear airbags and leveling, power steering and brakes. Here in South Bend, Indiana, we have a Mercedes-Benz 180D diesel-powered taxi cab up ahead, and another old bus. I'm not too sure what make that is. You'd think I would know, but I'm not that educated just yet. 0 to 60 in 10.85 seconds. The Invicta at 8.7. My wife thought the Buick LeSabre one of the nicest cars to drive until it came to parking. Our own garage holds 2 cars, but the LeSabre would not fit in it and allow the door to be closed. Final statement. There is much of which to approve. This new model stretches the fuel, goes like blazes, and is no doubt the best Buick in recent years. Cross-country report on the new Studebaker Lark. We took a factory new model and gave it 3,107 miles of hard traveling. The entire run was made at maximum legal speeds at all times. No economy tricks were pulled. Average fuel consumption was 20.1 miles per gallon. Distortion in the wrapped around windshield corners was bothersome, worse than the average for 59 cars. In Joplin, we went to work on carburetor and found accelerator pump screw loose on top of the block, reinstalled it, and went on without further carburetor trouble. Weather stripping was not cemented in place well on test car. This strip on dogleg of left door came completely loose within the first 200 miles. Heater control knob's cable was too long, control pulled clear of dash. Dust-filled rear end, tailgate top and bottom were poorly fitted. The Lark also leaked badly around both doors. 0 to 60 in 9.2 is pretty decent. Comparison testing the 1959 Chevrolet Ford Plymouth, plus a friendly prescription for the 1960 models. I have to say, the 1959 Ford looks a little dated compared to its contemporaries. In theory, the test Chevy with its lower power and slightly better weight distribution should have been the most stable car on slick surfaces. In practice, differences were negligible. Your best bet would be to handle any of them gingerly on ice and carry a couple of 100-pound bags of sand in trunk in winter to improve rear-wheel traction. How much alike the big three have grown to be. There are differences, of course. You can take your choice of fins sticking up, sticking out, or fins aslant. On performance, all three were so close that a good driver could easily make each car come up with the same results on acceleration, fuel mileage, roadability, and handling. Perhaps the most significant differences among the new Ford, Chevy, and Plymouth are in the steering department. The Plymouth has the lightest and fastest steering, not the ideal for nervous type drivers perhaps, but our test technicians liked it. Chassis dynamometer horsepower. Chevy came in at 95. The Ford at 95, Plymouth at 105. Which engines did we fit these with here? They're all V8s, so which V8? I thought maybe there were 6 cylinders with those kind of numbers. We've got the 283, the 292, and the venerable 318. Luggage compartment loading test showed that this was about the maximum amount of standard side luggage which would go into the 1959 Ford's trunk. Would it also fit into the other two cars? Fills the Plymouth trunk to the brim. The Chevy seems to have a little space left over. But you have to lift the suitcases higher off the ground to get them into the Chev trunk, yeah. Wiper arcs seem to be something they really like to test in this magazine. The Ford seems to leave a little to be desired. New ideas in car design. 2 inventions recently awarded patents calculated to further comfort and safety in automobile designs. This car having power operated hinged roof panels using Teleflex cables. Ease ingress and egress. Yeah, that didn't catch on, and I imagine I can see why. Eric Klebe comes up with an even more complicated invention. His hydraulically controlled auxiliary braking system will put an end to stopping difficulties under icy conditions. Looks a little drastic, but no doubt it would do the trick. Basically, it's a serrated wheel, an auxiliary brake line, hydraulic rams with damper springs. So you have an up-down control lever and just slam them down on the road and hit the brakes and it'll drag you to a stop. The money-saving way to make your car glitter and gleam again. Car Life magazine. Replate Autochrome. It plates as you brush. Make big money plating. You simply clamp speed plater's wires to your car's battery, then dip speed plate brush into the miracle plating solution and plate anywhere around your car without removing any parts. Wonder why we don't do that anymore. Probably causes horrifying cancers. There we go. a run through the Science and Mechanics 1959 edition of the Car Repair Handbook. It's pretty fun to read about hopping up the Rambler American. Some test reports on a bunch of imports. Very, very interesting glance at the past. Next time, we'll finish up with the December 1959 issue of Science and Mechanics, the magazine that shows you how. We have a complete 1960 auto roundup selecting the year's 10 best toys. We compare all the new compact cars. Valiant, Falcon, Rambler, Larkin, Corvair. Boats. Le Mans, tiny racers. Put Le Mans in your living room. Oh yeah. This is gonna be good. Well, I'm pretty surprised. I just pulled my catch can off and look at how much it's got in it. And that was all going to be going through the intake. Looks like it's a lot of water. But there's some oil there too. I'm going to put it in a jar and let it separate out over a while. This is already like half full and it hasn't even been that long. So guess I'm going to have to empty this pretty often. Crazy.
Oh boy. Well, as per usual, I've left things way too late. It's now, well, technically it's Thursday, and that means that getting some closure on Saturday's video is going to be pretty difficult because this thing is still sitting here on the bench. Now, I did talk to some people that are a lot smarter than me, and they reminded me that these things aren't going to run properly without the center screw. That goes right down through the center of the carb, and there's a hole in the bottom, so it's actually like another source of vacuum and right into the tank. They just don't run properly without that in there, so you just saw the results of that. It's working much better now. Good enough anyway that I want to get this engine onto that Gilson snowblower. We had a really warm day, everything melted away, and then we got some snow earlier today. So tomorrow I do have to clear the snow. So whether that's with this Gilson, that would be nice, at least try it out. It's probably going to be with the old Toro again though, just for the sake of, I only have so much time. Also, I spoke to some people that are much more knowledgeable than me about this record player. Indeed, this is the filter cap in question, the main culprit, but the individual I was conversing with also recommended changing all of these caps. He says they're pretty cheap, and he gave me a lead on where to get them. So I'm going to order those up. So this will probably not be finished. It's not going to be finished by Saturday, but I mean, we've got that. I got parts coming for my brother-in-law's F-150. As always, there's lots going on. I don't know, I got lazy and I didn't get out here tonight. So hopefully I'll have this Gilson running tomorrow in time that I can get that all edited up for Saturday. All right, I better get back at it. This is a bit like snowblower gynecology. well, we'll be ready to test it out on some snow tomorrow anyway. It's a hefty thing. Almost 1:45 a.m. Good night. Okay, well, it's been a long time since I've used this thing, so let's try it out. I don't know. Does it throw snow? Sure it does. But if I'm only keeping one, Thanks, Toro. All right, well, thanks for watching, and until next time, keep it in the litter box. Cheers.